Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. Es un gran orgullo estar aquí hoy en UWM Live. My bad, guys. Everything I do right now is in Spanish, so I just got into character, was doing a reel. My bad. So let's get into this today. A little bit about me. I'm just a regular loan officer, just like all of you guys right now. I'm out here fighting. We're out here in the trenches. The kitchen sink is thrown at me, but I don't care, because right now we have to fight. We are in a fight right now. So hopefully today you guys learn something from me. One of the things that I want to talk about is how to navigate the mortgage landscape. Right now, things are different. Things are hard. But if we embrace change and open the doors to opportunity, we're going to flourish right now, because at the end of the day, it's you against you. That's about it. There's no one else out there competing with you guys. So we want to make sure that hopefully you guys pick up a nugget from me, or you guys may be already doing this. I am proud to be here today. I never thought I was here. People talk about getting out of your comfort zone. I'm out of my comfort zone right now. So let's get right into it. A little bit of who I am. I became a loan officer back in 2004 during the height of things. I used to work for a subprime lender at the time. We all know we made a lot of money during that period of time, but at the same time, I had a lot of fun. I spent it all. I had a good time, partied, but I learned from that, because in '08, the recession came. We have to grow up a little bit. Things were very hard. I couldn't lend. I couldn't do anything. But I was blessed to have good friends during that period of time. One of them became an attorney. She opened a law firm out in LA, where she said, "Hey, Danny, do you want a job?" '08, it was hard for me to find a job. So what I did is, she was like, "What do I have to do?" And she was like, "All you have to do is just shut up and listen. That's it." So that's what I did, is that I shut up and listened. I became a real estate paralegal. I have a background in bankruptcy law, real estate law, credit repair, debt negotiations. But one of the things I've learned through that period of time was loan modifications. So loan modification was big back in '08 to '12. A lot of people were losing homes. It was hard. You couldn't get a loan modification unless you hired a law firm. I was blessed to work for a good attorney that actually won and beat the banks. So there I started having a little bit of empathy, and I started changing how I was thinking towards the regular people, because it was hard during that period of time. I started helping more people. One of the perks I got, though, when I was a paralegal, is I was able to get a lot of short sales. So they were giving me short sales because a lot of people decided, you know what, I'm upside down too much. It's not going to help me out anymore. So they decided to short sell the property. So I was getting a lot of short sales. So what happened during that period of time is, I was like, you know what? I just had a baby. I was lucky to stay at home and raise my daughter for the first 5 years. I love my daughter, Brooklyn. That's what I did the first 5 years. A lot of my friends call me the Mexican Martha Stewart, because at that point I had to cook. I had to make sure she was good. But it really taught me a lot, because as a real estate agent, you have that flexibility to take care of your kids. You have that flexibility to take care of all the other things, and you have to cook. I learned how to cook. I did all these things, but one of the things I started seeing is that it was very difficult for people to afford a house in LA. It was very competitive. I couldn't really get anyway after the short sales dried up, because somewhere around 13, 14, things started changing a little bit. People started buying homes more. Things started getting better in the economy. But what I started noticing is I was not growing my book of business. It was hard. It was really, really hard during that period of time. So what I did is that my buddy of mine that I work for right now, Greg Owner, he's literally like my brother at GFL Capital. He was like, "Hey, Danny, just come back to lending. No one speaks Spanish right now. Like, just come back." And I was like, "Well, what do I have to do?" The first thing he said is that I have to be humble. That was the first thing he said. You have to be transparent. And the third thing is that be even keel. No matter what happens, good, bad, great, you stay even keel. You treat everybody with respect, because if you're able to do that, you're going to grow. You have to look at things in the long haul of things right now. We can't be short-sighted right now. Things are changing. They're always changing. So that's what I did, is that I came back in 18, became a loan officer, but that market at that time was about the same as right now. Higher interest rates. It was hard to compete, try to get realtors. All of the stuff that we're dealing with right now, I dealt with it then. One of the differences back then is that I was trying to grow my book of business. With growing your book of business, you have to put yourself out there. You can't be afraid, because it's you against you, no one else. So I started going back, and in 18 to 20, it was very difficult to grow in LA, because a lot of the broker shops out there, they already have relationships with real estate offices where at that point, if you don't have a decent MSA agreement with them, you weren't going to get into that office. So it was really hard for me in LA. So what I did, crazy of me, is in 2019, he was like, Greg said, go to Vegas. And I was like, Vegas? I'm like, I don't want to go party. He was like, there's a lot of opportunity. And sure enough, I call Nevada the greenest desert in America because there's so much opportunity out there. Any which way you look at it, you just have to go out there and put yourself in. That's what I did, is that I went out there. And one of the biggest things that I realized is that you're fighting within yourself. One of the things out there is that everybody is retail lenders. UWM allowed me to start growing out there in a place and in a state where it was dominated, and it's still dominated by retail lenders. Us coming in as a broker shop, as a wholesale lender, it allowed us to grow a little bit faster, but at the same time, a lot of people were hating on us. It sucked because a lot of these retail lenders, they never saw some of the competitive rates that we can offer to the public, and they were just bad-mouthing me. Retail is retail. Little by little, I was like, no, this is us, this is what we're offering. So little by little, people started really seeing that, hey, these guys actually do want to help. And that's what started happening, is that people started knowing about us. One of the things I always kept doing, and I still do to this day, is continuous improvement. We live in an age of information. If we're not taking the time to learn ourselves, shame on us. Because that's what we're trying to teach our kids, is that, hey, learn. And if we're not doing it, that's on our fault. So that was kind of what I started doing, is I just continually improving myself. And then what happened is, being in Vegas, I started having a lot of first-time home buyers, even right now. Most of my clientele is first-time home buyers. I deal with a lot of people that get denied on a regular basis. Affordability is taking a hit right now. And in my eyes, what do you do differently to help them? Because if you're turning someone down right now as a first-time home buyer, a lot of them get deflated. You have to figure out how to help them out. And that's what I started doing, is I really started listening to them. I'm not leading them, they're leading me. They're telling me what they want. They're telling me what payment they're comfortable with. And that's what it starts, is that you really have to listen to your client right now to make sure that you're going to set yourself for success. Even if you deny people, one of the things that started happening is I started denying a lot of people, but they were so appreciative that I denied them, which sucks, because someone took the time to actually really help them. And that's where I started growing little by little, because they would share my name within the community, their friends, the workers, casino workers, construction workers. And little by little, even if I would deny them, I started growing. So that's kind of what happened with my denials. Now, one of the biggest things that happened was, with me denying so many people, a lot of people started reaching out to me. I have one of the stories where I have this 10-year-old boy, he showed his reel to his dad. And the dad had just been denied by a couple of retail lenders, and the boy goes to his dad, Papi, I think these guys can help you. It was me and my realtor partner. And so he showed him the reel. As a 10-year-old boy, showed his dad, hey, Pops, look at this reel. These guys can possibly help you get a house. And sure enough, we ended up getting in contract. We closed that deal within like 21 days or less. Super duper happy. So you never know who's watching right now. But what happened is that really started making me see the power of the Latino market. Right now, the Latino market is untapped. A lot of the things that I do is everything in Spanish. This is the first time I've done an event and I'm speaking English. Everything I do is in Spanish because no one's speaking Spanish out there. Now, one of the things that you want to look at is that the U.S. Latino GDP right now is valued at $3.2 trillion. That's a whole lot of money. That's a whole lot of opportunity. Now, you may say, well, great for him, I don't speak Spanish. Well, that's not the case right now. You want to look at everything because we have ChatGPT, we have Google Translate. You never know what you can do to help that consumer. Now, one of the things you may not know is that between 2020 and 2040, 70% of the homeowners will be Hispanic. Now, hear that again, 70%. That's out of 10 people, 7 of them will be Hispanic buying homes. That's a huge demographic that's going to be untapped. So if you're not tapping into it, you can do it now. So those are some of the things that I started focusing on. Now, from that, it came this method that I've been working on. It's called La Vida Buena, which is the good life. It's not a dance move. It's just La Vida Buena, which means good life for all of us. Now, how do we teach that to our clients? So one of the things that I've talked about earlier was the continuous competitive advantage. You want to look at that right now. You want to look at the long game. You don't want to look at transaction right now, because if you're in the transaction business, you're looking at that margin, trying to make as much money as you possibly can. But what happens to the next one? Right now, we're setting ourselves up for failure if we're looking at that, because we all know rates are going to come down. We just don't know when. That's the reality of it. We don't know when, but if we're all heavily dependent on purchase business right now, eventually that will come. And if you're playing the long game, you're going to get that. Now, the other thing is that do not be afraid to reinvent yourself. One of the things I see a lot, I go to a lot of events, I go to a lot of places, I see a lot of dinosaurs. And what I mean by that is that if you're not taking the time right now to do a reel, if you're not taking the time to learn something, if you're not really investing in yourself, what are you really doing? Like you're complaining, you're, oh, woe is me. That can't happen right now. That's some bullshit. Sorry about that. That's the reality of it. You have to be real. Like, you have to be real right now. That's the other thing, is that don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. I've never thought I was going to be in this position. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm way out there. But it's okay, because we have to do it. The other thing is that you have to take pride in educating the consumer. Right now, first-time home buyers, there's so much misinformation out there. We have to make sure that we actually are teaching them, and we're also setting ourselves for future growth with them, because once they buy a house, there's a very good chance that they're going to help you and refer your name out there. Now, one of the things that you want to talk about is your niche market. What sets you apart from everybody else? One of the things I'm talking about is the consumer, the Hispanic consumer. I have a good friend in LA. She speaks no English whatsoever. But what she's done to set herself up as a niche market is she translates everything in an email to the consumer in Spanish, saying, hey, I don't speak, but I'm going to translate everything. It takes her a little bit longer to do that, but she's doing it. That's setting her apart, because what happens is that the consumer seeing, hey, she's taking the time to really help me. And that sets her apart. So don't be afraid to understand your niche market. The other thing is that perform your research on the mortgage landscape. Right now, everybody's competing against each other. What's going to set you apart from the other people? If you're in a place where it's heavily dependent on retail, we're going to beat them. You're faster, you're better, you're more educated. They suck. That's it. Easy as that. And then the last thing is that we want to make sure that we're always wealth building for everybody that we're helping out there. You want to make sure that you're teaching them the value of wealth building, because if they're buying a house, it's for either generational wealth or for them to do something later on in life. So we have to make sure that we're educating everybody right now. Now, here's my method. La Vida Buena method. It all starts with the purchase. We're all purchase dependent right now. All of us. Everybody in this room right now is purchase dependent. So what do you do different in your purchase meeting? One of the things I do is that once I close a transaction, I set them up with an annual meeting for the following year. That's the first thing. Then the other thing, I also teach them about equity growing. All the little things, I set them up in that meeting. Now, when you set them up with your purchase, you consummate the loan. One of the things that you want to do, what we've been doing, is that we talk to our client about the closing disclosure, the final settlement statement. We talk about property taxes, insurance, all the basic things that they need to know, the promissory note, the good things. Give them the nuts, the butts. I'm sorry about that. See, I'm out here. You got to make sure that you give them the nuts and bolts of things. So that's the biggest thing, is that you want to make sure you take the time to really do those things, and then provide exceptional customer service. Do not be afraid to just go above and beyond and really help that person, because if you help them, eventually it'll come back to you. I'm a good believer of that, is that if you do good, it will come back to us. That's the other thing. Now, the biggest thing is that right now, we're in a time where we have tons of opportunity. And what I mean by that is that we're loan officers. You're a loan officer. I'm a loan officer. We study every single year, new rules, new guidelines every single day. Right now, realtors need us. At the end of the day, they need us right now, because if we show them value, they're going to come to us. So those are some of the things that we have to make sure that we're really showing them too. Now, in your annual meeting, this is where things get good, is that in your annual meeting, if you have a CRM right now and you're just letting that focus on your CRM, shame on you, because the CRM can't do all your work. That's just a start. You have to stay relevant in front of their eyes. You have to know their birthdays. You have to know the kid's birthday. You have to know the dog's birthday or the cat's birthday, whatever it is. Treat them like family, because if you treat them like family, guess what's going to happen? They're going to refer you. So you want to make sure you're doing all those little things. And then the biggest thing is that you want to have a proactive approach in their meeting, because what if they have a supplemental tax that you probably told them initially you're going to get a supplemental tax, but they forgot about it. That's just an opening for you to start talking to them and building rapport and asking for referrals when you meet with them at that time. Is that don't be afraid to ask for referrals. Now, with the equity growing, we all know right now inflation is high. It's not going to stop. So with inflation being high, property values will increase. So if property values are going to keep on increasing, eventually they'll have more equity in the property. So equity allows people to do different things. You never know, sometimes education may come up and they may have enough equity in the property to pay for the education. That's one thing that they can do. The other thing could be where a family emergency comes up. I've had in the past where some of my clients need money because a family emergency came up, so we have to give them that. So those are some of the things that we teach them with the equity, because you want to make sure that you're there for them in all facets of life, good times, bad times, and that's where it stays, where we have to stay even keel. Because if we're always happy and we're helping them, you're going to feel better about yourself, especially in this time right now. Things will change. They're not going to get any easier for us. It's going to get harder. So if you don't realize that now, shame on you, and hopefully you guys learned something today and here in this event where you can take it back and apply it, because we all can learn from each other. We're in a time right now where if we all band together, we will grow faster. That's the reality of things. And in closing, I'm happy to announce as well that we're launching a new organization called the Hispanic Organization of Mortgage Experts. And what that is that right now, we already know what's coming with the Hispanic consumer. They will be the largest home buying power out there in America. So if you're passionate about the Hispanic community and you want to learn more about it, feel free to reach out to us. I'll be happy to answer any questions about it. And the biggest thing I want to say is that thank you. It's been an honor to be up here. I never thought I would do this. I am so blessed to be here. Thank you so much. Y al éxito. Gracias.